Welcome to tonight's webinar and thank you for joining. My name is Mohammed Mufid. Tonight's webinar is about Visio, how to create common used diagrams in business. So confirm to me, you can hear me well, please? You can type on the chat. Okay, so I have unmuted participants and attendees, so yes. Okay, thank you for that. So yes, we'll start right now with a couple of things to talk about. First of all, about me, I'm a certified Microsoft trainer and as well I'm a Microsoft Office specialist master level, also with a degree and certificates in business analysis. Some of the applications that I work with are the Excel, Power Query, Power Pivot, Power BI, Visio, MS Project, and to see more complete profile, it's on our website, which is www.viftraining.com. Okay, so we'll start right now with a couple of housekeeping points. First of all, that this webinar is being recorded right now as we're going live. You will be receiving after this webinar an email, so you can watch the webinar again. It's a link that will be shared with you. And also, if you don't get that link anyway, or you don't find that email any longer within your mailbox, you can go to elearning.viftraining.com to watch it. I will demonstrate that in a bit. So we'll have a Q&A every 10 minutes and by the end of the webinar. Also, we will have a 1-minute survey at the end of the event. For any technical issue, please write me on the chat. Just leave for me a comment if there is any technical issue. And for now, as I said, that the survey will be at the end of the event. And also you will be receiving a certificate, an e-certificate via email. So on our website, viftraining.com, I just wanted to browse to that. And from our website, viftraining.com, you can click on courses over here, then select webinars and wait for that to take you to another page. So you can see my screen, right? Am I right? Can you see the screen? I'm sharing the screen. Can you confirm to me? You can type on the chat. Can you see my screen? Yes, no? Okay, thanks for that. So yes, so from this, as I said, like here is today's webinar and here are the previous webinars. So you can click on previous webinars. It will be definitely on the previous. And then from here, you can see that these are the webinars that we had. You can select one of them. And also you can watch this recorded webinar afterwards. So I'm going to close that and go back to our presentation. So let's move forward and we'll talk about what are the common Visio diagrams that I'm going to demonstrate today. We'll start with the flow charts and go till the end, show you the floor plan diagram. So starting with the flow charts are used commonly to describe a process, how the process starts and where it ends. When we're talking about process, usually that there are some shapes and these shapes, they must mean something. So what do each shape mean? We will look into that when we start with Visio. We can put multiple process, one process at a time, or a whole entire process. The best practice is to break down the process into small parts and you show each process alone. So I'm going to start right now, Visio, Microsoft Visio, that's the application. And from here, we'll start immediately. Now, one of the things that you can start with is that you can start immediately with a blank drawing. And I will show that if you click on a blank drawing over here and you select what type of metric you want to use, the US or units, sorry, the units that you want to use, the US or the metric, you can select any one of them. Metric is commonly used within us, as US is special for US, you know. So I'm going to click on create. And when we start with a blank one, what we need to fill inside here are the shapes. So here we have the shapes to select from. This is going to be open to you to select what type of shapes you want to use. So here are the flow charts and you can select between them. However, what I prefer to you is usually when I click on new is to go down and select between the categories. What categories do we have? So let's say that we're looking for diagrams or flowcharts. Start with the basic diagram, or we can even look into more into a business diagram or any other diagrams, but let's select, for example, a flowchart diagram. Here, if you see the flowchart diagram, when I click on that, it gives me other templates. So let's start with the basic one over here. And when I click on that and then use the metric, then create, you'll notice that on the left pane, which are the shape pane or shapes pane over here, there are the shapes that's related to flowchart. If you want to add more, you can click on that and add, but it is dedicated for flowcharts. You can see all the shapes that's related to the flowcharts. So we'll start right now with creating a basic one. So I'm going to go to the PowerPoint again over here, just to explain that we'll start with something like, let's say, a registration form. I wanted to start and see what's happening to go to the end. So let's go over here. And if we look at the shapes, here is the start end. So I'm going to drag that shape and keep it here in the middle somewhere, or let's keep it on middle and on top. And you can even resize that. So I can make it a little bit bigger if I want to, and then type something inside it. So I'm going to zoom in so we can see. So let's say here it's the start of that process. I'm going to double click and type the word start. So there you go. And now then I wanted to start a process. Now you can drag one of these diagrams, put it over here, and you type what does this process mean. And also what I can do is that when I click on the chart, if you notice that there are 4 blue small arrows to the right, to the left, top, and below, I can come to that and then select what would I like to do. So I'm going to select, this is a shape of a process. And let's say here, my process will be filling registration form. Okay. So that's the first process over here. And then later on, I want to move to a second something. It's called here, submit, okay, the form. Then later on, I wanted to look at something else. So after submitting the form, before accepting it, I want to look for verification. So here, I wanted to use this one for decision. So in the verification, if I say here, we are starting here, verifying the application or the form. And once I verify, I'll be looking into something, look at the decision. I can drag that and connect it or use the decision. And the decision will say the following, okay, if approved, then what we'll do here, we will what? Complete, or we can say accept or submit the form. Submit the final submission, or you can even register or complete registration, complete registration, and send email. Send email. That's in the case if this was yes, that we verified that things are okay. But if things are not okay in the form, then I wanted to take that a step back. And this step back is like identify, okay, the missing مثلا information, or could be supporting documents. I'm gonna pull that a little bit over here. Maybe I can keep it next to that and look to it. And once we identify them and fill them, we have to connect it back to the verification. So I'm gonna click on insert in the home tab. Sorry, click on the connector. And from the connector, I can take that point and connect it directly to here. So you see right now that my connector looks like as follows. From here, I'll go back and verify. If all approved, then I'll move. And finally, I will add something else, which is the end. I need to end the process. I can put here an end. So here I'll type the word end. That's a small flow chart diagram that you can make for one process. Now, if you wanted to look at other things like how we can modify things, that I will keep it later, not for that step. I would like maybe to demonstrate quick and fast. If we wanted, for example, here's, as I said, no, yes, here should be no. I will add the word no. I can change the way this connector is showing, maybe by dragging it over here a little bit. and maybe take it from that point to that point, so it will come that way. Anyway, so here is a yes and no. Other things we can do is that we can select, play with the fonts, make it bigger, and this is a straightforward, like we used Office applications before, you know, like Microsoft Word, PowerPoint, it's the same thing. And another thing we can look at is on the design, we can change to a different quick layout. We can select different colors for each one of them. We can change the fill manually, change the line, change even the font color. Also, we can look at the design tab and select one of the predefined themes. So for example, I can select that theme. And if you will notice that these themes are giving you a quick preview once we hover the mouse over that. So maybe I can select that one and then select the different color variant from that one. You can select many of them. So this is basically how we can create a flow chart. Any questions? So, any questions? Shall I move forward? So, okay. So it seems it's all simple and easy. Yes, very clear. Thank you. So you see that using Visios are better than, I noticed that some people, they might use Microsoft Word, using shapes and arrows and connection, or using PowerPoint. This is going to be easier when you are using the proper tool, which is the Visio, and use the stencils or the shapes available in the flowchart. So I'm going to close that right now and not to save. Let's start with the second one. So we're done with the flow chart. Let's move forward to the organizational charts. So here it's different. Here we are going to use different type of shapes. So let's start with that. I'm going to show you. That's a sample of the organizational chart that we're going to build. And I will start with, again, Visio. Go back to our Visio. There you go. And from here, I'm going to click on File. I'm going to click on New, go to Categories, go down, and let's look into maybe a business. Let's click on the business over here. So what do we have in the business here? We'll have some brainstorms, and we have here some org charts. So I will select this organization chart from here, and we'll start with a blank one. Keep it on that metric. I'm going to start with a blank one, and click on Create. Now, over here, if you'll notice that we have here different shapes that's related to the organizational chart. And as well, we have here an org chart tab appeared on the ribbon. These are the controls and commands that we can use. So I will start first with the following. I'm going to take that executive build, put it on top. And then I wanted to add manager build. So I'm going to add maybe here around one. Let's add 4. So I'm going to make Control C, Control V, have another one. And again, Control C, Control V, have here another one, and Control C, Control V. Let me repeat that. Control C, Control V. I'll drag that one over here. And we can even add one more level if we want to. That's okay. Let's add one more. That's fine. We'll have 5 of them. So now what we need to do, I wanted to make all of them directly connected below the executive, the top level. So I can select all of them by holding the shift and select all of them. Select the first one, hold shift, select the last one. And I will drag that and make sure one of the shapes is coming on top of that one. So sometimes that dragging does not happen perfectly, but let me try with the control. I'll try to drag and see if this will work this way. And okay, so it seems that does not maybe work with all of them. It's not easier. Maybe you can drag one at the time and release it. And you see when I drag one at the time and release it, it came directly connected. So I can repeat the step for the others as well this way. But sometimes it does not work with a group, and sometimes it works. That's fine. So what I did exactly is I dragged the shape, put it on top, and release, and it did for me that kind of connection. So I'm gonna take all of them, highlight them, drag them a little bit down. Okay, and let's add a level of assistant. So I'm gonna add this assistant over here. So this assistant will be for the executive. Fine. Now, the thing about that org chart that we have, if I zoom in, we'll see that we have the names, the titles. So I will definitely, like all of us, fill these things, the name and the title. However, the powerful thing about Visio is that we can bring information about the name and the title and also additional information from an Excel sheet. So I'm going to show the Excel sheet. Here is an Excel sheet that I prepared for department called HR department and the list of the staff. So over here, here is what I have listed: the title, the function, employee ID, name, and status. Now, it is important to use proper naming or header columns, title for the job title and the name for the name. You will see more of that when you are in Visio, what names to use, but definitely this way will make it easier for us. And also, if you notice that there are some people that are active, this position is vacant. No one is filling it yet. So you'll see that in my list. Let me right now import this list to Visio. So the first thing I will be doing right now is that I'll click data on the ribbon and I'm going to click quick import. And this is from Excel. I'm going to browse and go to my path. Now I'm copying the path just to make it quick. I will select now the HR staff and then I'll click on open and click on done. Now you'll notice that Visio have checked that it has been identified, importing the rows, linking data to the shapes diagram, apply data graphics, and when we click done, we will have the external names over here with that also data pane. So what is going on right now? Here is what we need to do right now. I'm going to just close that one. And let's talk about right now what we need to do. I need the HR director, which is here. So I'm going to drag the HR director and put it on top of that and release. And now we'll see that it pulled the HR director as a title, his name, his employee ID, and it gives that flag that this position is filled. Is there a certain format for the Excel sheet? Yes, the Excel format for the Excel sheet, the proper way to be doing it is that proper way. Like, try to prepare the Excel sheet as follows. Don't keep spaces. Don't have merge cells. Have only columns with the column header and the information in that way. Use the word title instead of position and name. That's the thing that you should prepare about it. Now, even if you did not use the head title names, there is an import wizard. I will show you this afterwards, how to use the import wizard so you can map the fields. Like, for example, full name or last name or first name or you know, these things, how you can link them. I will show this later on. So yeah, okay. So I'm going to close that sheet and let's go back to Visio. So over here, I wanted to do a few things right now. So that's HR director. When I pull the information, I have the employee ID. I have it over here. I want to do a little bit of changing over here. For example, I'm going to click on that one, that alone. And then from here, let's look at the advanced, or let's here look at the advanced graphic. I want to edit. I do want to do some edit. First of all, the first edit, I'm going to look at the status. Okay, or let's look at the employee ID over here. I'm going to select it and click on edit. On the employee ID over here, let's say that maybe we wanted to have a different shape. I don't want to have a box. Let's have something like, let's look into something else. What if we're going to take a line, something like that? We could have use a line, for example, something like that. Maybe I don't want to have a top label. Maybe I don't want to have a borders. So we can look at all of these things. Instead of bad data bar, let's select text, for example. I want to use text instead of data bar. Let's have a text. And let's have this as a call out. And I don't want to use the label for that. I will switch off the borders and I click on OK. And that's the first thing. I'm going to click on OK. And now we have this, which is the ID. I can pull that ID a little bit and try to pull it inside the box. But if to pull it inside the box, this is not happening. I need to go to the advanced edit again, and maybe let's edit it again. How does it appear inside? For example, right now it's appearing at far right. No, maybe at the horizontal. Maybe I wanted this to be on the right edge, and vertically I want it to be on top. Now see this how it changes right now. When I click on OK and click on OK again, now it is horizontal and on top vertical. I can pull it to be part or inside the box. So that's the thing that I'm doing. Now I'm gonna take that position, and this position is vacant. There is no person for that. This is the assistant. So I'm gonna drag the assistant and put it on top of that shape. And now you notice that I have another orange flag. I want to edit that flag, make it, for example, green to show that it's vacant. So I wanted to fix maybe that employee ID, keep it here, 0. There is no employee ID, but I want to edit that. So I'm going to click on that, click on advanced shape data over here and edit data graphic. And let's look at the status. So if I edit the status item, no, I don't want to use this flag. So I'm going to not use this one. Instead, I wanted to use the green flag when the word vacant is in the column that called status. And now hit apply and hit OK. And you will see now that we have here a green icon showing that this is a vacant. Now for the managers, I can drag a manager and put it over here. Let's take the compensation and benefit manager, drag it on top of that one. Let's take the employee relation manager. I can drag it on top of that. Also do the same for the training manager, and maybe workforce planning manager. I drag it onto the last shape. Can close that, and here we see that this is vacant, and you see that here is the employee ID. However, for the others, I may drag it a little bit down, fix that from here. Hold on. So I'm going to drag that down, drag it a little bit here, and fix the others. Then you can, of course, you see that it's simple and easy to do that. What I have saved is save the time on what? On filling these using the name, because we have an Excel sheet with a proper format and proper titling. So sometimes if it's like the clicking and flithery, no problem. Move it around, and then you can put the shapes back all together once you're done. I can drag that one up. And we continue the same. Any other position I would like to add, I can come right now and add a position built over here, to add the other one, and so on. And with the connector, I can show, like if I click home on the ribbon, you can select the connector, connect this one to the one below, and so on. Or you can drag the shape and put it on top. For example, if you don't want to use the connector, you can, again, as I said, drag the shape. Let's go to the pointer, drag the shape so it will understand that this is part of that. And then again, you can go back and to your org chart, and you can drag the names that we had. Remember the thing that we connected with the data, show data window. I can go and drag these things, and you can put that as we applied these steps previously. So that's for the org chart. So is that clear? Any question? Okay, so that's for the org chart, and as you see that it's more simple. Now let's go to the brainstorming diagram, and the brainstorming diagram, it's something also you can find within Visio. So I'm going to close that one, not save, and let's go to File and then click on New. I will look into the brainstorming. Now for the brainstorming, we can go to more categories. You can click on the categories, and from the categories you can go down, and let's look for the brainstorming. So brainstorming, it could be something that you find in business more. So you can click on business, and then you can select one of the brainstorming diagram like this one. So you can select brainstorming diagram. You can start with a blank or start with an already created sample. I'm going to start with this one. So I will click on that, then click on create, and we'll have the shape for the shapes for the brainstorming. And also we have here a small drawing that helps us. We'll explain about that more when we start putting in some shapes. So the brainstorming, we can start with the main idea. So here is the main idea. I'm going to put it here in the middle and give it something. So let's say that we are going to here improve customer experience. Okay. So I was saying that we wanted to improve customer experience. How we can do that? We can increase, and let's after that look into right now this box. So the main idea is showing inside this box. All right, I can just click on this pin to turn on the auto hide. Auto hide means once I click outside, it goes. Once I click in, it comes in. So now that's the first thing. So now we need to add a topic, or let's say, or we can even add multiple topics. So I can drag a topic and put it here, then link it. But what I prefer that we can right click on that shape and let's add subtopic. So now I'm adding a subtopic over here. So what is my subtopic is all about? Let's say that I wanted to add what we need to do. So let's say here we're talking about technical support. So that's one of them. So in the technical support, I wanted to add multiple topics under that. So I can right click and then add beneath it multiple topics. So what we talk about technical support, we can say 24/7, for example, support. We can talk about live chat. We can talk about, let's say, live chat, let's say social media feedback, forums, and so on. So we're adding that. And once I click on OK, you will see that these became subtopic of one of the subtopics. So now I can move this one a little bit up, and you see now we have that one. I'm going to add another. So let's say I'm going to add another subtopic to the main. And now in this one, let's say about sales. So let's talk about sales. So in the sales here, experience, if we're talking about the selling experience, let's add beneath that another multiple subjects or multiple topics. So let's say we wanted to say about more promotions, let's say after sales services. Okay, that's two ideas I would like to add. Let's say here about membership discounts, and so on. So we're like adding ideas. And when I click on OK, you see that we have right now this over here. So I can even move it here beneath it, below it, to the right, to the left of it. And we see that we have added more, and you can also add another subtopic. Now, one of the things that we can do, maybe I wanted to move this on top of that, so you can look into that and move it up and down from here, from that small box. Do you see that box? So we can use it. And also other thing we can do, I'm going to select these ones. So I'm holding control, selecting more than one. Let's add these subtopics, select them all. And then we can look at brainstorming. So when you click at brainstorming over here, we'll see that there are things that we can change. We can change the layout, we can change the topic, and so on. And we can look at how we are changing the shape of the topic. So I'm going to use a freehand. Freehand, it looks like sketching or something. So you can select freehand, and there you go. We have a different look for them. Even you can select them again or keep them selected and then fiddle with the design of it. You can look at the home, you can look at the different fill colors if you want to, and so on. As well as you can click on the design and select from the predefined themes if you want to. And to apply these themes and select different colors and different designs. So that's one of the thing. Other thing, you can change the layout. If you wanted to have a different layout, such a layout, you can use that layout and so on. So this is for the brainstorming in general. Any questions? Okay, so moving forward, talking about the detailed network diagram. So this is in the IT field. Usually you can see like such a diagram that the IT tech people, they use to show how is the IT infrastructure. I'm going to go through that very quick and fast. So I will go to Visio. I'm going to close that. Don't save. And let's look at the network diagram. So I'm going to click on New. And under Categories over here, let's look at the network. So here is the network. So some of these networks are for the Active Directory. It's IT more related, detailed one. I'm going to select the basic network. Let's select that and create. And once we're here, we'll see some shapes, how we can use them to create. Now, here we have a group for the network peripherals and here for the computers and monitors. I can select, for example, the network over here, and let's look at what we need to put. So, for example, this is the service provider. I can put it over here and say that this is a service provider. I can put, of course, a router that we have routers to our internet. So let's select a router shape. So from here, I will look for a router. What is the router shape? There you go. I'm going to select a router. And of course, our router is going to our service provider through a firewall to protect us. And then after that, with the router is connected to a switch, the switch that going to connect all the other devices to it. And the way that they are connected is connected through an Ethernet. So, or wireless, I don't know. Maybe all the devices need an Ethernet, and some devices they need what? An access point. Okay, so that's an access point, something like for the wireless or the Wi-Fi. So I'm gonna keep that over here. And then we can, of course, select computers and monitors. I can put a PC, you can put a laptop, it's connected to our network. Let's say also we have some servers. So I'm gonna go back to the network peripherals. I can select the server that we are connecting to it, maybe the server even at a higher level. And then we can select also a printer. So let's say that we have some video cameras or some printers. So I'm going to look at the printers. What are the shape for the printers over here? I think yes. So I use this printer. We have a network scanner, and you can add these shapes. Then you can use the connector to connect between them. So I can say that this is connected to that. And again, this is connected to the router. The router is connected to the switch, and so on. You can connect them and work with that. So the idea is into the type of the diagram that you select will easily help you selecting between the shapes. And again, once this is done, you can look at the designs and the colors, and you can add names. You can double click and type the name. So this is like ISP, Internet Service Provider. This is, you can double click and add firewall. Now, if you don't like that the name appears over here, then don't type that. Instead, you can insert and you can use the text box. You can draw a text box and you put it somewhere over here and then say that this is firewall. Sorry, that's a fire. I forgot to add the firewall. So that's a better use if you don't like the text that comes on the images. When we double click on the image, it provides you an option to type, but with the text box, you can move things freely and even adjust the fonts and things even way much better. So that's for the network diagram. I mean, the detailed network diagram, or let's say the internet diagram, you can use this. So we're done with that. Any questions about it? Any other questions? Okay. Moving forward, okay, so thank you also. So moving forward, I'm going to go back over here and let's look at the timeline. So the timeline is like a snapshot of your project. What are the most important events happened in your project? Important phases, how we can create a timeline. So the timeline is something that you can find it available within MS Project or those softwares that are used for managing projects. But also with Visio, you can do that if you are not using a software special for that. So I'm going to close that with no saving. And I'm going to click on File, New. And then from here, I have a timeline already, was used previously, but I will go again to our categories. And from here, let's look at the timeline. Timeline is available under the Schedule group. So I'm going to click on Schedule and then select the timeline. So I'm going to create starting from blank. And here we are going to take the block timeline and release it over here. So once we release it, it's going to give me the time. What is the time of your project? So let's say my project started on, let's say, September 1st and going to end somewhere in maybe, let's say, Feb 28. And that's it. And the scale is month over here. We can take it into weeks. We can put it into days. If it's very lengthy, we can use years. I'm going to stick with months. And then we're going to click on OK. And there you go. So now we have that timeline over here. It's time to add events. I'm going to take one of the block interval and maybe put it over here to talk about something important. Maybe the first couple of weeks, there were some couple of kickoff meetings and so on. We started here, for example, something that started on, let's say the 4th or the 5th, and there are maybe weekends. So let's start on the 6th. And when did it finish? It finished, for example, that phase 1 somewhere in October 10. What is the name of that? Let's say here, design phase, where we start design phase. I can call it like that and click on OK. Now, also, you can include milestones, and the milestones, it's like you are trying to announce an event that happened or finished, something like obtained approval, like we obtained the approval, or we obtained the work permit, or something like that, or the application has been successfully accepted. So you can select different type of milestones. You can use that shape of milestone. You can use the diamond shape. You can use the line. I'm going to take the line milestone and maybe put that milestone after we finish the design. We waited a couple of days, and then here we got the approval on here. So we got here design approval. So that's it. We got the design approval over here. And then click on OK. If you wanted to move this from up to down, you can move it, but you'll move only the upper point, which is that circle. I can drag it and put it down. Sometimes, see, it's fiddly. Just you can zoom in so you can feel yourself that you're working much better when the screen is low. So, for example, I wanted to move that point, and I want to move that. Sorry, that's what's happening. I want to move that timeline into from up and down, so you can drag it more down and you can put it into a specific area over here if you would like that to do. For example, if you added another milestone which is very close to it, and let's say they are both overlapping, let's go and undo that. If I'm going and adding another milestone over here very near to it, it will be very difficult to read. Therefore, you can keep one down and you can move the other one keep it up, and one you can move it down. So this is how we can add milestones. And also, let's say I'm adding another interval. So let's have another interval here, which is the after design phase, let's say the implementation phase. So that's a very big phase. And let's extend that phase somewhere to maybe Jan. Let's say I'm extending this to over here, and that's the implementation phase. And within that phase, we have multiple, let's say, those milestones, and that milestone saying, for example, work permit obtained. So that's one of the things that I want to announce. Another milestone I want to add somewhere over here, let's say inspection approval. So we got the inspection approval, and I'm adding another milestone somewhere over here, and I'm saying in that milestone, for example, let's say here I'm going to announce something very important. Let's say here that we get another permission, which is NOC, no objections. So we got the no objections letters, no objections approval. Okay, somewhere over here. And we'll see that I wanted to highlight events on a specific week. So how I can do that one? So over here on the timeline, we can look at a subtimeline, like to extend our timeline. So maybe I'm gonna put that extension over here somewhere. And now when I release it, it's telling me what period you want to focus on. So let's say I wanted to focus on the period that starts somewhere in October, maybe October 19, and it ends somewhere, let's say, on Jan 26. And I'm going to click on OK. And you will notice that it's still overlapping that one. Drag it a little bit down, and you will see that I have an extension of a specific area of my timeline. But however, if you look that still this is in month, maybe I want to drop it down into weeks. So you can look into that. And let's say we want to make more of this to look as a week. So I'm going to click on the timeline and let's configure over here. But the selection should be correct. Let's look at the date and time, or click on that configure button. Sometimes you see that when we click on things, we have to make sure that we're clicking on the right area. That's what happens sometimes on the timeline. So, okay, let me just redo that. Let me select the whole entire thing and click on that area. Now it works. So you see that the selection was not correct. So when I click on the configure, I wanted to make that area, instead of months, to show more weeks. So that will break things into more smaller weeks. And even I can, when I click on configure again, let's have this all selected, or the whole entire thing is selected. Configure, make it a smaller area. For example, instead from October 19, I want to look until November 23, for example, and click OK. So that shows more smaller area that I wanted to focus and show more of activities happened in that area. So that's a way of adding an extension to the timeline. Any questions? Any questions so far? Is that okay, Rabi'? Yeah, so it's clear, Yani. So we see that with Visio shapes, you will have more flexibility. Depends on the time of the diagram. You can, do a lot of other things. So I'm going to close that right now, not to save it. And let's move forward to talk about the calendar, and the floor plan will end up with it. So in the calendar here, that's the perfect thing, that you can use the calendar, which is within Visio. So I'm going to click on categories and go down again to the schedule. And from the schedule, I'm going to select the calendar. And from the calendar, I'm going to keep this metric units, then click on create. And if you see right now that we have the shapes that's related to calendar, we can have a month, weeks, multiple weeks, a year, calendar, a day. I'm going to take the month over here and let's position it. If you see somewhere, yes, over here in the middle. So here's asking me which month you are looking for. So let's say I'm looking for this December. The week begins on Sunday, and to show title and highlight and shade the weekends. So I'm going to click on OK. And now we see that this calendar is over here. I wanted to add an activity. So let's say to about today. Today I'm having a webinar, and the webinar is here. So I'm going to add an event. So let me take that appointment event over here, and I will keep it inside here. So this event is from 8 p.m. to 9 p.m. And that's it. The subject of that, I will call it Visio webinar. So I'm going to click on OK, and here is the first event. Now, next week, I know myself, I have a course that's going to start from 21 to 23rd. So that's a multiple day event, and I can put it over here. And once I put it over here, it's telling me starting on 21, and I'm going to say it's going to end up on 23rd. And this is going to be Excel training for me. I'm going to hit enter. So this extended to fill up that for me. And I can add some shapes to it if I would like to. For example, I can say that this is the start date of it, or this is where it starts. I can show that over here. And when it complete, the completion will be on that day. So I can do also for that, for completion, and put it over here. So there you go. I put it like that. So this is the way to create calendar. And I can rename this page, and I call it, for example, December DC 2020. And then I can add a new one. And this I can call it, for example, Jan 2021. And then again, I will drag another calendar over here. and make it specially for January 21. So that could be for year, I said 21, and let's have this to be as Jan. Then we'll do the same steps again and again. So that's for the calendar. Other things that we can do is that you can add this icons, reminder, meeting, attention, you're traveling, celebration, birthday, vacations, whatever of that, you can drag them and drop them as small shapes on your calendar to maybe tell more about your event from looking at that specific event bar. Okay, so is there any question about the calendar, Rabia? All good? Okay, all good. So moving forward, I'm going to show you the last one. Let's go to look at the last one. And the last shape I'm talking about here is the floor diagram or floor plan diagram. Now, the floor plan, if you see that one, I'm sure that we've seen many when we're buying houses or looking at the plan of an office, how to do this in Visio. And Visio provides this. It's like somebody is using the architectural softwares, like the AutoCAD or Revit and building things with that. So you can actually achieve that within the Visio. And how to do so is like we're going to click on File, New again. We'll select now categories. And from here, we will look at the following. We will look at the map and floor plans. And from here, I will select a floor plan. You can also use directional map and others. You can see there are plenty of them. So I'm going to use the floor plan. And from here, I'm going to create. So in the floor plan here, they added for us a group of shapes that I can use. And starting with the building core, and then here, dimensioning, engineering, and so on. So I'm going to use the wall and shell and structure. I'm going to drag a room and put it over here. Now, one thing I can do is that I can click on that shape. Maybe if I'm right click and let's look at the properties, and I can see in meters, like this is showing 3 by 2 meters. Maybe I wanted to put 5 by 10. Let's say that's maybe to 5 by 5, let's say, and click on OK. You can extend that. And you'll see that if I say 5 by 10 on the edges of that, it will show the whole entire area. Now, let's look into that and see what we can do with that office layout. Maybe I want to do it in that way. And another thing that we can look at, it's very important, is to look at the layout. So I'm going to click on the, let's say over here, let's look at the layout. I'm going to click on the design and look at the size. And in the size, I will look into more page size. But I'm not going to look at the actual page size. Let's look at the scaling, the drawer scaling. So the scaling is 1/50, 1/25, or you can define it by centimeter if you want as a scaling. So you can select between those different scaling, and this will show that this is the size that you're currently working with. I can click apply and hit OK, but that, if you have noticed, that it's way too big than what we use right now. So I'm going to go back. But anyway, you can experience with more of a drawing scales, what scales that you are using for the drawing. Maybe I'll try to use that one and see what is that. Also it's too big, but yeah, you got the idea at the end. You can work with that. You can even change the page size if you want to. For example, you are working with this size. Here are the size. This is an A4 size. You can define different also paper size as well from here. So maybe you want to plot it on a big plotter, the plotter that prints the big drawings. You can use from here different sizes or type your own custom and define its support rate or landscape. So let's right now look into the walls. So if I'm saying that this is an office, maybe I wanted to put a wall here, and this is my first wall. I can extend that wall a little bit over here. Let's add another wall over here, but this time this area I'm going to take it over here. So that's my first wall. And again, I'm going maybe to take another wall over here and put it somewhere in this area, extend it, and so on. And let's have another one over here. We'll put that, and then let's drag that other wall over here. And I wanted to put a door. So that's the door for the first one. So I'm going to zoom in maybe more so you can see. So now I have dragged that door over here to see that this door currently is opening to the outside. If you want it to the inside, you can drag it and bring it this way and so on. And you can again add another here. Let's take another door. Maybe I want to add the other door over here and I'm zooming in. So it's the same. I can drag it and bring that door over here. So we see about the doors right now. You can add even more. If you want more walls, we can, and we can use the windows. So here I'm talking about the window. Let's add a window over here, and that window could be with any size that you decide. You can copy that window, Control C, Control V, and again, let's select it, sure, Control C, Control V, and I can take that window and paste it, for example, in the other room, and so on. So I'm having that window over here. You can, of course, after that, definitely look into other things also. You can add more offices, add receptions, add furniture. So, for example, right now, I wanted to add the description. What is this all about? I can add for here, as I said, insert the text box. And inside this text box, I write, for example, this is Office 1, and so on. I can type here, it says Office 2. When we zoom in, we can see more of that. But what is more interesting about that is that we can add the furniture. So let me drag up and let's look at the shapes. And from the shapes, let's look at the map and floor plan, building plans, and let's look at the furniture. So we have a furniture over here. We have a furniture 2013. Let's look at office furniture. So there you go. Here are some office furniture that we can use. So you see, we can have a table. We can put a table over here. And, things are straightforward. That's a table. I can put it over here, for example, or let's, Haram, give him a view so he can see from the window. Okay. That's the first office I can add. And then you can look into things like chairs and so on. You can select in between. So I can select an executive chair. Let's do that. Here is it, an executive chair. Here is the one desk. You can copy, Control V, move that over here. That's another one, for example. And again, you can copy, paste, and bring the other one over here, and so on. So you can, of course, rotate, and so on. Also, you can change the color of these things by selecting, go over here, and for example, I don't want to have a fill, make it a white fill. If you want it, make that one as a white fill as well, so on. So you can use, this are a lot of things. You can add a reception desk, for example. So if I want to add the reception desk to the entrance of the office, let's say that the office entrance is somewhere over here. So I'm going to add the reception here, over here, and you can extend that. Then from here, you can, of course, go back to your shapes. And let's say that we wanted to add a door. So here is a door, an entrance door, or we can use a double door. For example, here you can look, there are a double door, for example. Here is a double door for the office, and so on. And we can bring it from the outside or for the inside. So Visio, again, like I'm not going to dig into that detail, but I think the details are more clear. Is there any question? Yeah, it was very clear and precise. Exactly. So it's very important that you will select what type and category of diagram that you want to work with, and Visio will quickly provide you. But however, if you don't find, you can always use the search. Like even if you started with a blank, if I'm going with a very blank, let's say a very blank, and I don't know what I want to do, you can say, for example, calendar, and hit enter and wait, it loads for you the things that's related to calendar. Or let's say flow chart, and you click hit on enter and wait, and here Visio search and gives you anything related to flow chart. However, when you use the template, it will be easier and get you whatever you want. So that's conclude our webinar, and I will keep it open for any questions. So do you have any question? Okay, thank you so much. Please fill in the survey, and thank you for being here tonight. Yes, all pleasure. Okay, Zainab, do you have any question? Thank you, Robbie. You can fill in the survey and you can leave. That's once you close, you will have the link for that. Thank you so much. Pleasure is all mine.